to, start recording through OBS, that's probably your best option.
Probably. But just waiting for this one to officially go live on YouTube. All right, there we are. We are officially live on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's been a while since we've done one of these episodes, but I am so happy to be back to do another episode of Legacy Loading. And joining me today is our favorite friend of the show, Mr. extrazero. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little on the tired side. It's a Thursday. We're close to the end of the week, and I've got a busy weekend ahead. I've got a couple busy weekends ahead, but you're doing good. Hopefully, get some game time in between all of the chaos this weekend. And but I'm excited. I'm a big Pac-Man fan, so I'm excited to be on to talk about Pac-Man. And I actually remember this episode that we're about to talk about pretty vividly. So
yeah, I forgot they did a Pac-Man episode. I was kind of been going through like this channel and going double checking like which episodes they've done and stuff, and there's still plenty of interesting topics to talk about that I think a lot of people forgot. I mean, from the past episodes that we've done, obviously the Peter Molyneux episode is still probably one of my favorite ones, just because of how much like he never hid that he was a scumbag.
Yeah, Billy Mitchell's also kind of an interesting character too, when it comes, because I know he's kind of integral to the story of Pac-Man. He's definitely had a rise and fall and rise again in popularity. And when G4 was at its height, like King Billy was King Billy. I mean, he was legendary. He was the man that beat Pac-Man. There's a lot of coverage on Twin Galaxies about Billy, and people really, really hyped the man up, and it also reinvigorated a lot of interest in Pac-Man as well.
No, you're not wrong about that. And also, just from doing these series, I think it's also very interesting, just kind of relearning about the gaming industry all over again. As I've said many times, it does seem that there's a lot of people who still don't even know, like the basic facts about a lot of video games that they talk about, or even know the roots about a lot of their gaming, I guess I could say icons here,
Yeah. And Pac-Man's an interesting one. I think everybody just kind of colloquially knows the whole Puck-Man thing, but there's a really interesting story to how Pac-Man came to be and the type of game that the creators really wanted it to be, and they wanted it to appeal to a different audience. There's way more to. Well, they wanted to call him Puck-Man, and they changed it because you could easily change that P to an F, and Thank you, Scott Pilgrim, for also beating that dead horse.
Got all the porn parodies ready to go right away. But yeah, no, this was one that was been long overdue. Originally, we're supposed to do this it's September?
Yeah, I think so.
Like September, August, and it's just like work got hard for I think me, and then it's just vacation, life changes, and now I'm happy that we're finally doing this. So let's get this on the stage here for us to start watching. And let's get to it, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Let me know if it's too loud on your end.
He was born in Japan to let
you actually probably turn it up a little bit.
They just didn't have high hopes for Pac-Man. Nobody had high hopes for Pac-Man.
Is it still low, or you can hear just fine?
It's audible.
For the second time in history, the Japanese mint had to start making more 100 yen pieces.
And the world.
Pac-Man is part of a national phenomenon that had to happen when the TV set married the computer.
The way they used to talk about,
His popularity caused worldwide havoc.
There was an American reaction to it, and it was a big reaction.
Wait, what?
The way they used to talk about, the TV set married the computer. They just didn't have good language for describing. I mean,
video games. Yeah,
video games were still new.
Hey, how you doing there, Ando? I got that reference. Good old Bloodhound Gang. But yeah, no, I didn't realize that there was actually, a controversy in America. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there were a couple.
And then we got Mr. Pulp Culture Mechanic. How you doing there, buddy? He says there was Pac-Mania and even a song.
Yeah, Pac-Man Fever, and it topped the charts, which is crazy to think about too.
Very angry reaction.
Hear the story of his birth.
Nakamura-san was afraid that Americans would alter the P on Pac-Man, so he changed it to Pac-Man.
He ain't wrong.
His defeat.
I had such a tight grip over the joystick at times, I was afraid I was going to shatter.
Holy crap, it is Billy Mitchell.
Yeah.
And how he captured our hearts. This is the story of Pac-Man.
Got that good old classic Icons opening. This was such a fun show back in the day.
Was.
You know?
And it's a shame too that it ended, because there's this is one of those things that you could do infinitely.
Yeah, on top of that too, like this would be like a fun concept to bring back.
Yeah.
If we ever got a chance to do that, because there's a lot of you could tell at like the end of the show run, they were just like running ideas. They had like Mark Cuban and Mark Echo, and I'm like, what do these people have to do with gaming? I think they had a comic book writer. I can't remember his name, but like he also made an appearance as one of them here. And then yes, Pop Culture, they did have a Saturday morning cartoon. You are correct.
It was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon as well.
Yeah, he says, shame there aren't many channels that do this type of content with video game documentaries. I mean, what is it? No Clip, or is that the one that's like the gold standard?
There's a bunch out there. I think the one challenge too you're going to find when it comes to people that make video game documentaries is that they'll stick to a genre of games and they'll kind of keep it to that. For what it's worth, before he just kind of got lazy, Pat Contry was doing a thing called the Video Game Years. That was an amazing. It was kind of like he took the concept of VH1's "I Love the '80s," or "Best Week Ever," and applied it to video games. They'd take a year and they'd have a whole bunch of panels. They got like Joe and Dave from GameSack, and James Rolfe and Mike Matei, and Mark Bussler, all kinds of gaming YouTubers, and would have them come in and just talk about their gaming memories associated with the game. And it was really well done. But yeah, you're not going to find a kind of like, and what I like about Icons is that it was formulated like something you'd see on the History Channel.
Right. Real interviews with the people who were there. Yeah. That's like the problem that we have, is that we don't have like that same connection, I think, to a lot of the industry that's done in this really fun, informative style. Now,
there would be a good hope for it. And I feel like if again, I know not everybody likes him, but Adam Richman, who's kind of a food and pop culture enthusiast, he was pretty integral to the Toys That Made Us on Netflix. And I feel like Netflix could do something with like the games that made us. They also have, the food that made us. The food that built America.
That was a really good show.
And honestly, History Channel could do something like this and bring in a whole untapped audience.
I mean, there are really good channels out there, like Did You Know Gaming?
Yeah.
Like they're really good and really informative. Like we did a show actually when they did the Gunpei Yokoi episode. We used that documentary, and that was really well done.
Yeah, there's a couple channels I've been watching. Almost Something's one of them that does these good retrospectives, but they're not edited. They're not as tight. And I think that was the thing about Icons, is that in under a half an hour, they were giving you like a really tight, well edited, digested documentary. Yeah,
like, that's the best way to say it. It's like the meat of the conversation. It may not have been the most detailed, but it gave you a lot of the stuff to make like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue.
Back in the early 80s, every town would have a recreational center.
I can't remember if he passed away or not, the referee for Twin Galaxies.
There would be pinball.
What was it? Did they show you? Did they say his name?
He was like the big referee. He was a staple on G4.
Back in the early 80s, every town would have a recreation
Walter Day.
Walter Day is his name. Did he die?
Yeah, no, he is 76 years old, still alive.
God bless him.
Pool
Keep
tables,
going, buddy.
shuffleboard, air hockey, foosball, and then maybe a video game or two.
I mean, yeah, Ace Frehley just died today too.
Yeah,
That's the
he
weird
did.
part. He was
Yeah.
74.
I thought he was. Yeah, he was. It's sad too because he died of complications from a fall that he had last month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I my uncle, huge Kiss fan.
Yeah.
I-
My uncle too. His whole man cave was Kiss themed.
Whoa, so was mine. What a
Yeah.
weird coincidence.
And he had like all of the Psycho Circus McFarlane stuff like all over his back wall for a while. He had standees. He had like the statues from remember Sam Goody? They sold these statues that you could make a stage and they would all play a snippet from a certain song.
Yeah. My uncle had all the I don't know what they were. I think they were like they had each member of Kiss as like a picture and there was like a CD underneath it. I don't know what it was. I don't know if they were like standees or if they were actually like custom made. That's the problem. But he had all their autographs too, So yeah, he's probably very devastated. I got to check on him next time I see him.
Yeah, I mean, Kiss was the very first concert I ever went to back in I want to say I was still in high school. It was either 2001 or 2002. I think it was 2002. But I saw them in Virginia with one of my best friends, and I that was like one of the last shows that Ace did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue.
And most people didn't bother to go to the recreation centers in their town until some of the more modern.
There it is,
games
Walter
started
Day.
coming
Walter
out.
Day, yep.
Video games have been out there since about 1972, but they really had no major impact on the public.
But all that is about to change with the birth of Pong, a video game that paves the way for the golden age of arcades to officially begin.
What you see here is part of a national phenomenon, a phenomenon that had to happen when the TV set married the computer.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Space Invaders was
Like that's like looking back, like for a lot of people, maybe it's like when you watch the opening day of Disneyland in California. That's kind of like one of those same moments right there, where it's just like you look back upon it and you don't realize how different the world was back in the day. Sometimes,
yeah. Well, anytime something is bleeding edge and it's not really entered the lexicon, you always kind of look back at it as being a little bit awkward because the people and one of the fun things too is like you go and look at like one of the old toy fairs where they first unveiled Transformers and they just didn't really know how to talk about it. They have like some kid at the New York Toy Fair talking and he's got like a thick New York accent. He's like, it's kind of like a puzzle. You got to figure it out. You turn it all sorts of shapes.
Well, I think it's like, to me, it's like so surreal when you like watch old black and white Disney footage from like Disneyland opening, and it's like Ronald Reagan is doing the ground reporting. Yeah. And you just
Ronald Reagan, the actor.
Yeah, exactly. It's that scene. It is the scene all over again from Back to the Future. It's like, holy shit, Ronald Reagan was like a beat reporter covering the opening day of Disney. It's so wild to think about,
Yeah.
It's just like that, like we're seeing right here. It's like they're talking about like, video games like really didn't kick off until he said like the 1970s.
Yeah.
And then it's like here you got like this, curmudgeon-y old guy for even that time just talking about something he has no idea how big it's going to be.
Right. And it's kind of funny too, not to derail, but one of the things that this week and we've really been seeing is people that still just don't really understand video games, and it's kind of crazy to think that Space Invaders here turns 50 in less than 2 years. I think Space Invaders was 1977.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's like Pokemon next year, February, I think 14th or something, not 14th. But like whenever Pokemon Day is, Pokemon's gonna be 30 next year too.
Yeah. Space Invaders was 78. But yeah, Pokemon 96 in Japan, and you just nuts. And I remember reading about the Pokemon craze before it came out over here, because outlets like Tips and Tricks would talk about pocket monsters and the pocket monster craze, and all I could think about was that old toy line. Remember Monster in My Pocket? I was like, is it the same?
Yeah, little did we know.
Yeah.
Like the first game in this 3-game progression that brought the public completely into the arcades and made them become enamored with video game play.
Ah, look at that stock footage.
Space Invaders
Yeah.
had initiated the wave and the excitement in arcades
Stephen
in
Kent.
both Japan and the United States.
I think Pat got him for video game
And
years,
right
if
after
I'm not
Space
mistaken.
Invaders, Asteroids
wonder if he's still
came
around.
out, and Asteroids suddenly had
Probably
further
is.
enhanced gameplay where people could get very high scores, and also got the competition going for people playing against each other in a bigger way than Space Invaders started for high score laurels.
Video games were everywhere.
Yeah, look at how young Billy Mitchell is in this thing, man. It's
He
so
really
wild.
doesn't look that
Everybody
different
wanted to
today,
go.
though. That's the
Everybody wanted
crazy
to play,
part.
Everybody wanted to be the best.
Like he kind of looks like Seth Green a little bit. Did you
Yeah.
notice that? It's
He-
so
he
weird.
does. I read somewhere somebody said a couple weeks ago, like, that his hair reminds them, maybe it was the Kino Casino, said that his hair looks like a hood from Assassin's Creed.
I can see it. You know what's funny is that they kept this like giant face in an episode of regular show.
Yeah.
That
He
was
used
like
just
one
a
of the
big
fun.
head.
It was one of the best cameos out there.
It was that, and he had the American flag tie.
Yeah, man, he's got such weird hair, bro.
It starts with a quarter.
By 1979, the American craze for video games is just beginning.
They seem to have captured America's imagination and its pocket change as well.
But on the other side of the world, a young Japanese game designer named Toru Iwatani is inventing something new. Something that will change video games forever.
Is he still alive? Toru Iwatani?
I'm pretty sure he is.
Let's find out real quick here. Toru Iwatani. Toru Iwatani looks like he is still alive. 70 years old. 70 years old. God bless him. Keep going, buddy. Keep going. He's still in game design, too, it looks like.
Yeah.
So he actually probably still is an active part of Bandai
He's a
Namco.
very interesting fellow. He came to Namco. He wanted to make video games, arcade games, based on pinball. He wanted to make a game that would appeal to women. He wanted to make a game that would be non-violent.
So he was woke. He's woke! It's like I keep saying, man, it's like a lot of people don't understand about the gaming industry, you know? They wanted to always get everyone involved at some way, shape, or form, you know?
Yeah, and the thing too is that back then there I mean, it was such a new market. People kind of forget even today that it's like film. You don't, if you try to make something for everybody, you're going to please no one, but you can make it. I think you've seen this all throughout the lifespan of gaming, that different games had different audiences, and people tend to forget that.
Yeah, I feel like for us though, because I think you and me are more on like the hardcore gaming side, is that there's so many of us out there that are like super nerds that love the hobby, love the art form, like we get it passionate and into it. And I feel like when some people go like, well, if you make a game for everyone, you make a game for no one. I feel like some of those people are just so black-pilled, because let me finish like why I'm saying this, because I still live by that motto. It's like, if you play a multitude of games from so many different genres, it's like, how could you even say that? Like, you are the person that plays games that are made for everyone. You are that everyone.
Well, I think there's certain things, like I wouldn't say Call of Duty's for everyone anymore. I think it's kind of gotten into its own little bubble. But I do think like you can make games and movies that anyone can watch and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel it's like movies and television, right? It's like you have something like Seinfeld or King of Queens or Two and a Half Men. You know, we're talking like Friends. You know, sitcoms that people just kind of, you know, from all walks of life could kind of come in and find something that they liked about it, or an action movie, you know, like a Marvel movie is a good example of something that's like kind of like designed around a general audience, but it's really like skews more towards action. It's just a sitcom skewed more towards comedy. I feel like, we used to have this grasp on gaming that there were people, and you used to see it with reviewers. They used to have, people that would only review sports games, people that would only review JRPGs, people that would review survival horror, action games, et cetera, just as it, you know, with film, like you have people that, you know, they are horror movie reviewers, or I feel like everybody decided at one point they wanted to be the everyman reviewer, the Gene Siskel, Roger Ebert, Gene Shalit, and they stopped kind of, you know, accepting that different genres skew towards different audiences, and I think the audiences kind of can self-identify, and now everybody just says, well, it's a big game, I should be able to enjoy it because it's the big popular thing, you know?
Yeah, and I do feel like it always goes back to my second part of the thing. It's like, yeah, you got to find out if it's right for you or not, you know?
Right. And that's the other thing too, just because a review doesn't exist for confirmation bias, a review should exist
for informative
purposes and guiding your purchasing decisions, not I'm going to find, I want to get this and it looks cool to me, so I'm only going to read the reviews that praise it to tell me that I was a good boy and spent my money wisely.
Yeah, that's why I'm so devastated Jono and mine's review for RoboCop died, because I was like, oh, this is going to be good. And then it's like, oh no, it's like one hand clapping.
It was like me with Silent Hill F. I will finish it, but it was just, that was a game for me that just, it's been a chore to play, you know, and it's fine. You don't have to like everything. I don't think the game's inherently bad. I can just say that it's, you know, as a longtime Silent Hill fan, it doesn't have the themes or the gameplay that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You know,
it's more so like, everyone has like their go-to genre.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with like having a go-to genre, you know, because everyone's good at something more than others, you know?
Right.
People enjoy, you know, Pepsi or Coke more and all that stuff. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And I do think if you are a person that can be like a switch hitter, then yeah, you should kind of do like more of like an honest thing. It's like, well, this is what I like the most, and just be upfront about the stuff that you don't like that much. Like, like with me in Souls-like games. So like, look, I don't hate Souls-like games existing. I just am bad at them, and they're not for me.
I frequently say, like, I dislike the push to make everything open world in a environment where budgets are bloated. I would rather have a streamlined 10 to 14 hour experience that I want to revisit and not have it padded out. And that's another problem I have with Souls-likes, is that Souls-likes tend to pad out the experience. And I would have probably liked Stellar Blade a whole lot more if it was more of a linear style game where I got to enjoy the combat and the environment, not to breeze through it. But, yeah, that's like why I prefer Ninja Gaiden to a Souls-like. Yeah, the challenge is there, but it's tight, and it's, yes, you will die a lot, but you're not constantly, it's not a padded experience. And once you get into the groove of the mechanics, you can start to move through it at a satisfying pace. But again, it's me self-identifying the type of games that I like and enjoy.
But then you got the other subset of gamers who will be like, oh no, it's short. Like when Devil May Cry 5 came out.
Yeah, I played through Devil May Cry 5 like 3 times. I enjoyed that game a lot, and it's just like, it doesn't overstay its welcome. And you know, you think about it, like a game is shorter, but if it's worth revisiting, it's enjoyable when you revisit it. Whereas if you're playing a game that's like 140 hours, or you know, I know there are people that's like, oh yeah, I play, you know, Oblivion over and over, Skyrim over and over, and it's like, well, cool, but you're the exception, not the rule. Most people are gonna be like, I'd like to replay this. It's a big commitment, and I have other things to play. Yeah,
replayability was like a big reason why a lot of these games, you know, to like kind of offset them being so short. You know, it's like you had to replay them to like try to speed run them, unlock the special modes, obviously like tofu mode and everything else in Resident Evil. Like they made it so like, yeah, these games are going to be like super long games, but like you should kind of want to replay them, right?
Well, it's like with film, right? I like the Lord of the Rings movies quite a bit, but it's like, would you rather watch? I mean, like I've probably seen like, you know, other than Transformers the movie, obviously, RoboCop, Terminator 2. I've seen those movies countless times, but I go back and rewatch them because, you know, it's not a huge commitment. But I can't tell you I can tell you it's been probably well over a decade. It was probably when the first Hobbit movie came out that I actually went and rewatched the extended versions of Lord of the Rings. But it's a big time commitment. I'm not going to find myself watching those films over and over like that. And I feel like same can be said for the average film goer. And I think that when you make a video game that, and again, this goes back into arcade games, because arcade games are infinitely replayable. They're easy to pick up and play. And just to re-rail it to Pac-Man, you know, there's something to be said about those experiences and shorter experiences and things that are arcadey in nature. You want to revisit them. Same thing with shorter games. And I think, you know, the other thing too that's great about Pac-Man is, you know, for him to say like, well, I wanted to make a game that appeals to women. The arcade scene, it's interesting how video games got pigeonholed into being for children, when in the early days of the arcade, you're going to see people smoking and drinking, and they went to arcades on dates. So you figure, like, you see all these women tagging along with their boyfriends. Well, that's untapped market potential right there. So to make a game that appeals to more of a general audience, that's, you know, not about shooting, you know, which, you know, again, like Pong had appeal for women, but, you know, Space Invaders and some of the earlier games did not.
Well, proving once again the greatest enemy to women was their boyfriends' video games. Once again.
And he wanted to make a game using the word tabaro, which was to eat.
Hey, ladies love to eat.
Namco's president likes the premise. Iwatani is assigned a team of 9 designers to help bring his vision to life.
Bear in mind, back then, hardware was pretty limited. You could get shapes and colors, but they couldn't be very detailed. But he started the game, and one of the first things they ran into was, what does this character look like?
I think this is the pizza
when
story.
I interviewed Iwatani-san, he talked about going to a pizza parlor with his designers.
Yep.
They were eating a piece of pizza. Somebody pulled a slice out.
And he looked down at the tray, and there was Pac-Man staring at him.
Fact or fiction? You make the call.
So they don't even know. It could just
There's
be
a variation
After
that it was a
months
pie
of
chart
development
as
and
well.
Location testing, Pac-Man is ready for market, but he takes a back seat to a more conventional game.
They made Pac-Man at the same time they made another game called Rally X. And absolutely everybody at Namco loved Rally X. So then they took the games to a Tokyo Game Show, and everybody at the show loved Rally X. The main thing wasn't that people didn't like Pac-Man, they just didn't have high hopes for Pac-Man. Nobody had high hopes for
I think they liked Rally X because it controlled the steering wheel as well.
Yeah.
Which,
well, if you think about it, it's a racing game. You know, it has a little bit more appeal to the normies. You know.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're in a car. It's not really a racing game. It's a maze. It's a maze game, kind of an avoidance game. It's very similar to Pac-Man in the way it plays, but I feel like probably at the time having a steering wheel was a very novel thing on a cabinet like that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
like I said, it's a car. You know.
Yeah.
People know what a car is, and you know, it's a lot easier to set a pitch to like you. Well, you know, you said that your grandmother and grandpa owned a bowling alley, right?
They didn't own. My grandmother was a
worked,
manager.
sorry.
Yeah,
Worked,
my grandfather did. My grandfather actually repaired satellites for Northrop Grumman and Westinghouse before. But yeah,
like it's easier to sell a game like that to like, you know, your grandma, you know.
Yeah. Well, the concept of it, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Despite the low hopes, Namco still finds an American distributor.
They hooked up here with Midway Games. Midway was going to import both games. They took both games to an AMA show. Everyone loved Rally X still. Pac-Man was good. Rally X was the game of the show. And then they came out and, well, when's the last time you played Rally X?
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never seen a Rally X machine in my life.
I have, but only at conventions.
In 1980, Pac-Man is released in Japan and instantly develops a feverish following.
Pac-Man was a hit right off the bat. It was an immediate success in Japan. For the second time in history, the Japanese mint had to start making more 100 yen pieces because so many.
That's so wild to think about.
Mhm.
That like a game forced the Japanese mint to just keep pumping out coins. That's wild.
Well, there's similar things that happen in the States too. I mean, when arcades were at their peak, the U.S. Mint had to issue more quarters.
Yeah, but it's still wild to think about that. That's how much of a craze was that it actually had to force government action to get more currency out there.
Yeah.
Yen pieces were sitting in the.
You will never see that ever happen again, by the way.
No, and even now too, it's funny because like even arcades, like modern day arcades have adopted digital currency. If you go into like a Dave and Buster's or a Main Event, which are the two big arcades that we've got out here, you'll have to preload up a
game card.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, now with everything basically going to like cashless society,
but
yeah.
If you think about it, that was also something that happened in the 90s as well, because a lot of arcades moved away from quarters, and you would go and convert your dollars or coins into tokens.
You're right.
So that was, I think, the solution to, oh, hey, well, we'll never run out of cash if we're basically recycling tokens through our arcade.
Right, exactly.
Bellies of Pac-Man machines at that time.
Now it's time to
basic
release the
editing
game in
right there.
America.
Yeah.
Well, with one major exception.
It was originally going to be Pac-Man, based on the shape. And Nakamura-san was afraid that Americans, with their quote-unquote proclivities towards dirty words.
Mm-hmm.
A strong inherent inclination towards something objectionable. I like how they have to put this on there. They're like, this audience doesn't know what this word means. Let's explain it to them.
I mean, you got to remember when G4 was out, it was targeted at like
teenagers.
Teenagers, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't love that. She just say like Americans are assholes. Could have just spelled it out a lot easier.
Would alter the P.
But he's not wrong.
Pac-Man.
No,
he's definitely not wrong.
Changed it to Pac-Man.
With the new name in place, the Bally Midway Company releases Pac-Man in October 1980 to a hungry American market.
1 year before my sister was born.
Coming up, Pac-Man Mania.
Pac-Man is known as the cute game.
What's the object? You have to clear the...
Yes, you have to get all the dots off.
Wonder if any of them are alive.
Oh, if they are, God bless them. They were like 80 there.
I know.
40 years ago. They are breaking world
records. I don't know. Back then, they could have been in their like late 60s, early 70s, because the way people aged,
Yeah, well, they were probably like downing a carton of Marlboros every like 2 days or something too,
I think there's just something to be said about self-mummification.
Exactly. Well, it's so funny to see. It's like it never changes. Even media back then, they're like, let's go find a bunch of elderly people and confuse them with technology. G4 was targeted towards the Beavis and Butthead of the world.
I kind of disagree, because I think G4 really initially targeted like actual nerd culture. I mean, you had a lot of content that was targeting, people that were interested in the niche games. You had stuff like Cinematech on that showed cutscenes from a lot of JRPG games. And I think really everything changed at G4 when X-Play became popular.
X-Play, Attack of the Show.
Yeah.
They had like shows like Cheat. Do you remember Cheat?
Yeah, I remember Cheat.
And then there was that other show that had like the two gay dudes, as I like to call them, that did game reviews.
Well, that was Victor Lucas and Tommy Tallarico, and they had Judgment Day, and I actually like Judgment Day because the thing that was great about Judgment Day was they didn't always agree on the games. And funny enough, Jeff Keighley
Sorry, I had to sneeze. That was Tommy Tallarico. Are you
that
serious?
was Tommy Tallarico and Victor Lucas. Yeah, yes, it was.
No way. Get the
Yes
fuck out of here.
That was Tommy Tallarico.
What was that show called again?
It was called Judgment Day. Yeah.
I gotta look this up here.
Mm-hmm.
G4.
Yeah, and they also had Electric Playground, which Victor Lucas still does on his own YouTube channel. Johnny,
holy shit. This is like this. Holy sweet Jesus. What is that? Oh my God. I need to look this up now. We got to find some old videos of this one.
Yeah. Yeah, and Pop Culture Mechanics was filmed in Vancouver, and that's the thing is, right now, Victor Lucas does content with Johnny Millennium, the happy console gamer. Those two are buddies, and they live relatively close.
Oh my God. My mind is absolutely blown right now.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize that was Tommy Tallarico.
Yeah.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, future episodes, because I've been trying to find old X-Play episodes to do. Yeah. Like as a fun LARP on this one, but I did not realize that was Tommy Tallarico.
Yeah, and like I was saying, like the thing I liked is that Victor and Tommy wouldn't always agree on the games, and that was great for the audience because it showed you that there are different games for different audiences, and Tommy was more of the, he liked the more mainstream games, he liked the more arcadey, simple games, and Victor liked things that were a bit more complex and a bit more hardcore. And sometimes they would agree, and sometimes they'd have wildly different scores. But that was what made the show unique. And that's the other thing too. I used to like old EGM, and I urge anybody that's interested in EGM to go back and get that compendium, because the great thing about EGM is they had that Famitsu style review system where the reviews were very short, sweet, to the point, and they had typically four people reviewing the game.
Sorry, my dogs were barking. So, but yeah, no, like I said, I just remember a lot of like the old G4 stuff. They also had, live events of obviously E3, the Consumer Electronics shows.
Yeah.
One of the shows that I remember, and I don't know if you remember this one, but they had a show dedicated to adult entertainment stuff. It was called Wired for Sex. Do you remember that one?
I do remember that one. Yeah.
I'm curious. I want to go back and find some of those episodes and see how drastically wild, like some of those innovations came true today.
I never watched that one, I guess, because at the time, like when all of that was going on, I had a girlfriend, so I didn't really need any of that. So
I think I watched, it was always on at midnight. So it was like you had to have a DVR, or you had to be up to watch it. I just remember watching one episode about like robots, and I want to see if I could find that particular episode again.
Yeah. I also remember too, they had a show that it was Tina Wood and Laura Foy, I think, and I can't remember. It was G4TV.com was the show, and they basically had a podcast before podcast where they would just basically go through, the gaming news of the time, and they would talk about it and speculate. And I think that final episode, really, they were going through like the initial reveal of the Wiimotes.
Oh wow, yeah, that was forever ago.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
We keep the bumpers for the commercial breaks in there.
Yeah, I love it.
Yellow creature gobbles dots while being pursued through maze by monsters.
In October 1980,
video games explained badly.
Arcades,
yeah.
And America catches the fever.
Oh, I played Pac-Man the moment it arrived at a 7-Eleven just outside of Burley, Idaho.
When Pac-Man
Idaho.
It caused everybody to fall in love with video games.
The biggest arcade game of all time, by a long shot, the biggest arcade game of all time.
Awesome. Thank you, Pop.
In the United States, it caught on. You'd go into any large arcade by mid to late 1980, and you'd see an entire row of Pac-Man machines.
And manufacturers have trouble keeping up with the demand.
In suburban Franklin Park, you'll find Midway Manufacturing.
You know, it's funny what they just showed there.
Pac-Man game.
Like that guy, if you go back, where he's carrying the CRT. Have you ever actually picked up the CRT from an old arcade machine?
Let me bring up the picture of that real quick.
So right there, that guy, that scrawny looking dude, is just like manhandling that CRT for the Pac-Man machine. Now, granted, Pac-Man's, it runs in Tate mode, but that's a hefty unit, and this little guy is just like holding it by his foot, like he's got some hidden strength there.
I remember like the first HD TVs that we had, and they were still CRTs basically. Oh yeah. Fuck! I hated moving that so much.
I got my first one almost 20 years ago. I got an Insignia 720p CRT widescreen HD TV. I remember I got that Black Friday at Best Buy in 2005. It was because I had a flat panel 4x3 CRT TV that was nice. It was a Sanyo and it had a good picture. It actually had like S video and everything, so it could do 480p.
Yeah.
But when I first got my 360, it was like, oh man, again, the 360 turns 20 in a matter of
November 22nd.
Weeks.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that people already forgot that on an old CRT, the text, because everything was just made for HD TVs in mind on that 360 launch. That was like one of the biggest criticisms of that system's launch. It was really hard to read text, like Call of Duty and Cameo in particular. It was just super hard. So I was like, okay, I want to play my games. I want to play them right. So I got this 32-inch CRT HD TV that weighed, no joke, like near 200 pounds. And I remember bringing that thing down to the basement of my parents' house, like the morning of like Black Friday. Just my one buddy, he had to get, because I was in the basement at the time, so he had to we're trying not to, because we're coming in the house at 7 a.m, and he's behind me and I'm going down the steps. We had like wooden steps and I'm like holding that thing, and God, I weighed like $140 at the time. So I was not a very strong dude.
I just remember they had it was an old Sony, I think it was Wega before they were called Bravias.
Yeah.
Oh, my stepdad got one. That was like his pride and joy for ever. And I fucking hated moving it. We moved it 4 times, and that thing weighed 500 fucking pounds. And I hated moving it. He hated moving it.
Yeah, and you better have had a strong TV stand. TV stands today just would not stand, no pun intended, the weight of those old HD TVs.
Yeah, no, they had a good stand though, but geez, I hated it so much.
Up with the demand.
In suburban Franklin Park,
you
find Midway Manufacturing, feverishly turning out 350 Pac-Man games.
Now, I think this was in Illinois, actually, if I recall, because it's Franklin Park.
Yeah, I think he even said Illinois a few seconds ago.
I think he just said Franklin Park. I don't think he said Illinois. Let's go back a few seconds here.
Entire row of Pac-Man machines.
And manufacturers have trouble keeping up with the demand.
In suburban Franklin Park, you'll find Midway Manufacturing.
Yeah, suburban.
Turning out
well, I'm pretty sure Midway was based out of Illinois, because that's
Chicago.
And Boone and John Tobias famously worked for Midway, and they were Chicagoans.
Yeah, it's the Midway, Monsters of the Midway. It's another nickname for it. Franklin Park. I'm well familiar with because I worked at an AT&T garage there every now and then, and I hated it. So There you go.
About the beginning of MTV, people are still fascinated. They're fascinated with technology. They're fascinated with video, bright images, music, and the future. Pac-Man brought more people in. People went to arcades specifically looking for Pac-Man.
The little yellow guy becomes the media's biggest star.
Believe it or not, Pac-Man games are wildly successful.
What is that?
Pac-Man
I
finds
mean,
himself in some very strange
That's the
places.
thing.
They pop up everywhere.
The younger generations won't
7-Elevens would
understand.
carry 'em. Grocery stores are carrying them. The funny one is that at least one funeral home had a couple of arcade machines in its basement.
That's awesome.
Pac-Man was so good.
Now,
that
a
it
little
managed
fun
to
anecdote. One of my best friends got married back in May, and in the basement of the where they're doing the reception, it was like just like one of those places where you go to get married, but they do other things there.
Yeah.
And they had a line of pinball machines, but they did have a Super Pac-Man. So like the old wood grain one.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
the arcade and be a unique item for entertainment that could be found any place, not just an arcade.
It was an incredible phenomenon at that time.
Yeah, they showed it there. That wood grain one was the one they
Suddenly,
had.
everyone wants a piece of the Pac-Man pie.
Pac-Man was the granddaddy in marketing history of gaming property.
I wonder how much some of those old Pac-Man stuff sell for now.
Pac-Man was
Probably
made
quite a
into
bit.
Everybody's bed sheets, their pillowcases, their underwear.
Because Pac-Man's one of the few old properties
cereal.
that's never fallen out of popularity.
I mean, that is true. They have released Pac-Man on like everything and different innovations, and
Yeah.
you know, they just did a re-release of what, Pac-Man World?
Yeah, Pac-Man World 2. And the other thing that's interesting too is of the old arcade properties, if you go into like a Dave and Buster's or any of the new arcades, Pac-Man still has machines. They have the world's largest Pac-Man. They have Pac-Man Versus. They have the tunnel battle game. So in fact, we went to Dave and Buster's for my wife's birthday, and we really like playing Pac-Man Versus when we go. Yeah,
Pac-Man World Repack is actually on sale right now on Amazon for $10.
Yeah, that's an underrated game. The Pac-Man World 2 is I've been playing it, but it's not as good as the first one.
Yeah. Well, now it's $16. I just double checked because I saw it. I just bought it today because I'm like, $10. Why not? You know?
Yeah, I have it on PS5. In fact, I got the one that came with the I'm sorry, I have it on PlayStation 5 because I got the one that came like the Namco Bandai store. Every now and then we'll do these ridiculous sales.
Yeah.
So I got the one that came with the Chogokin mech suit for him, which on its own was like $140 figure. And I got the whole thing for $20.
No kidding. Yeah, I didn't realize that they had a collector's edition like that. I got the Tekken 8, I think it was, because they have that one on sale for like $60 not too long ago. So I got that one too. The Bandai Namco store has some good sales.
Yeah.
Pac-Man lunchboxes, Pac-Man board games,
Things they wear on their wrists, things they wear around their neck, things they wear on their feet.
Pac-Man trash cans, Pac-Man toilet seat. Just anything you can imagine. Pac-Man is there.
Pac-Man was really the beginning of all that for the video game industry. And it's not unique anymore because everything seems to be doing that now, but they're just following the path that was trailblazed by Pac-Man 20-some years ago.
Love for Pac-Man knows no boundaries.
Women loved Pac-Man, and they came into the arcades to play it.
But Pac-Man causes mayhem among parents, and he finds himself on the wrong side of the law.
Always
Look
the
at age
parents.
group that was
Yeah.
attracted to arcades. You know, it was a new hangout. There was
Yeah, so
concern
this is one of the
about
other
how much time
controversies.
children were playing at the arcades, that they were squandering their lunch monies at arcades. We're talking about in 1981.
You're my sister was
Americans
born?
dropped 20 billion quarters into arcade machines. They spent 75,000 man-years playing arcade games in 1981. That's a lot of time that could have been used doing homework. A lot of time that could have been used in movie theaters, according to Hollywood. A lot of time that should have been used
Always
listening to
Hollywood.
music, according to the record companies. People in all kinds of industries looked at it as a very unhealthy competition.
So once again, it was always a threat to music and TV and videos.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I ponder is like what was it like when movies were a new medium and they were taking away from literature and plays. How are those looked at? And it's interesting how vastly different video games have been treated when it comes to even like licensing. We see games get delisted in ways that movies wouldn't. It's interesting that games are treated like it's like I always say like dentistry should be part of healthcare. And I've never understood, like, if your teeth are so integral to your health, why are they their own? Why do you need your own separate insurance from healthcare? And it's just like video games are kind of like the dentistry of the entertainment business. It's an important thing, and it's a big business, but nobody wants to look at it as a legitimate form of entertainment. It's still niche or viewed as something separate, or like you can see like everybody fighting with like James Lindsay right now for like, oh, I quit playing video games when I was 25 and look at me now. And then people like myself like hey, I think I'm very successful, and yet I still love my video games, man.
Well, like when back in the day, like when movies were like new and interesting and stuff like that, I think they got away with it a little bit more because you can also put in like news reels, and like there was like multiple little like serials and vignettes and all that stuff.
Well, by the 80s, though, they had completely stopped doing any of that.
Yeah, but
even in the 70s, they stopped doing any of that.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I said, they were kind of like grandfathered in,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like where it was, because like really after World War II, even that's when like the whole movie industry really took off, especially during the golden ages.
Well, yeah, they would push propaganda, wartime propaganda, buy war bonds was a big thing.
Well, they also had like a lot of those like movie directors and stuff. Like they were out there in Normandy, they were out there in Germany and all that stuff with the people, because
Elvis is another example.
They actually were there to film the war and make propaganda and films and such, and then they went back to Hollywood and they just continued making movies.
Pac-Man becomes the poster child for the anti-video game movement.
Pac-Man really was at the forefront because it was the most popular and it was an image that everyone knew. Everyone knew the little yellow ball. Clearly, that was the focal point.
And there was so much press. Everybody who wanted to control and regulate and limit video gameplay, well, then it becomes sort of a renegade thing. You're a renegade if you play it, if you buck the system. You make all the older people mad, or you annoy them, or you do what they're telling you shouldn't be doing.
There were big court cases where arcades were limited in the hours they could open and where they could be located. There was an American reaction to it, and it was a big reaction, and it was a very angry reaction.
Oh, the 80s.
But the protests do little to reduce the fever. In fact, Pac-Mania is just beginning.
Pac-Man had a very long lifespan. In 1981, Pac-Man was competing with Donkey Kong. But before it was competing with Centipede, and it was competing with Battlezone. I mean, Pac-Man.
Oh, I remember all these
long,
games.
Long legs.
They're all on my PC.
Pac-Man was hot right up until Ms. Pac-Man came and eclipsed it.
Ms. Pac-Man is released in January 1982.
It's a little awkward with the sensual music playing. I'm not gonna lie, fellas. Sex icon, Miss Pac-Man.
I don't, if I remember correctly, they don't really go into the explicit detail about how Miss Pac-Man came to be. They kind of give the cliff notes, but that really could be its own episode, because everything that happened with that, and even today, the rights for Miss Pac-Man, even though it's Ms. Pac-Man, it's not owned by Namco Bandai. Like Midway retained the rights, and then they sold it off. And now I believe At Games actually owns it. My Miss Pac-Man would never do that.
Do you hold on? Do you get the reference though? I don't know if you saw that episode.
No.
So, hi JM. By the way, JM is a huge Lara Croft Tomb Raider fan and stuff like that. So we actually watched the Tomb Raider episode of this series, and they have like this. I think he was like a marketing guy, and he looked just like every marketing guy you could think of, like a real weirdo looking guy. And he was like talking about like the actresses that would like do Playboy shoots dressed as Lara Croft. He goes like, my Laura would never do that. So it's become like a little running meme now between us. It's like everything is just my insert random woman would never do that. Oh Jesus. I need to save that clip. That needs to be a clip.
But the game is created by college students, not Toru Iwatani, the creator of Pac-Man.
Ms. Pac-Man's a great story. Namco had nothing to do with the creation whatsoever.
A team of MIT grad students developed an add-on board, which they attached to an existing Pac-Man board to enhance the game.
They went to Midway and they said, we've got this Pac-Man add-on, would you like to buy it? And the president of Midway basically said, hey, you know, we've been looking for a sequel to Pac-Man. So they bought that add-on and they added it to Pac-Man.
All they need now is
why the central music?
So originally they were going to call it Mrs. Pac-Man.
I mean, because that was the art that Midway came up with, where they tried to like give her sex appeal.
So then they were going to call it Pac-Woman. But the problem was in the cutscenes, she's a baby. And, you know, heaven forbid we show any Pac-Man promiscuity.
What the fuck?
Well, that was the Atari commercial.
I know, but what the fuck was that?
So,
I've never seen
politically
that.
correct Ms. Pac-Man is ready for the arcades. Upon release, she immediately outperforms her predecessor, selling over 115,000 units. But her fame is short-lived.
Why? Why did they do the moan? Why did they do the sexual moan? Why? What the fuck?
It keeps your attention.
What the fuck? That caught me off guard.
I think G4 also like to do that sort of stuff in case like your parents were in an earshot.
All the time, man. All the time. Oh, that made me laugh so much. Shit.
By mid-1982, the arcade craze fades as fast as it grew.
Oh, no.
Inevitably, there was a shakeout. And the number of arcades that were existing in America at that time, which numbered maybe about 20,000, which was a lot. It was an arcade in every town, essentially.
Yeah.
Then it shook out so that there were only about 12,000 left, and then it shook out more, and there were only about 4,000 left.
The Pac-Man family alone isn't enough to save the ailing arcade business.
Games become unpopular when people get very good with them.
You see, Pac-Man is one of the greatest games, and the reason it's one of the greatest games is because it's also one of the hardest games. Players who become adept at it know that there are patterns.
And so now all of a sudden, instead of people playing for 30 seconds, now you have people who can come in, they'll drop a quarter in, and they'll play for an hour. Or they'll play for 2 hours, or they'll play until they're just bored and go home. And that all of a sudden makes the arcade business extremely expensive.
By this
You know what? That is a very fascinating and interesting point to kind of put out there, that the arcade industry just kind of killed itself by natural evolution a little bit.
It did see a resurgence when fighting games hit the scene. And there's something to be said about that when the fighting game craze happened, because to the point of, well, you know, great player can come in and they can, you know, put a quarter in, play it for an hour. Well, when fighting games hit the scene, it was, you'd put your quarter in and you kind of like, it was kind of a King of the Hill thing where once one player lost, they either had to put another quarter in to keep going, or somebody else would have to step in. And the beat 'em up craze was like that too. Like when the beat 'em ups came about, you would see people just wanting to come in and kind of hold on, and especially the 4-player games, the Konami, and so
I'll just continue to optimize the fun out of things. That's a great line.
Yeah, it's there's truth to it, but
this is fun.
The public's attention has already shifted to another technological boom.
I love
In
that they showed the
spring of
Vectrex first.
1982, home versions of popular arcade games.
Speaking of Vectrex, never heard about that until JM pointed that out to me one day.
Oh, really? So I knew about the Vectrex because I used to watch a lot of classic Gamer Room, and Mark Bussler, who I mentioned earlier, is like the #1 fan of the Vectrex, and that was something that he would show off a lot on his show. I'm interested in the one that they're currently crowdfunding, but I'm a little concerned about the screen, like that the way the vector graphics display on the screen was like way ahead of its time. And yes, I understand they're probably not going to put a CRT or any tube monitor in there, but if they don't put an OLED panel in it, it's kind of a moot point.
Are flooding the market.
I'd like an Atari 2600 system, please, and everything that goes with it. Everything you sure want everything. I want everything.
Arcade knockoffs.
That guy looked like a homosexual. I'm not gonna lie.
Look, he wanted everything.
He wanted everything, including that yummy dick behind the counter.
Well, look, there were certain games on Atari, and that was his way. Like, well, sir, do you really want beat 'em and eat 'em? He said, I wanted everything.
I want to beat him and eat him, and I want you to beat you and eat you.
Not have to be especially good or especially attractive. They need to have decent gameplay, and they need to have the name of the arcade game right on them.
But can home consoles save Pac-Man from extinction?
God, look how ugly that is.
In April 1982, anticipation rises for Atari's version of Pac-Man for the VCS.
Here comes Pac-Man, biggest game in the history of arcades. People are really excited.
I actually do have that Pac-Man VCS on pre-order.
Huge. Atari is so sure that this is going to be a hit that they made more copies of Pac-Man than there were active VCSs in people's homes because people would play it. And
fun thing, do you know about that VCS that's coming out?
No, I have no idea about that.
So they have a VCS that's Pac-Man themed that's coming out, and it comes bundled with the new officially licensed Pac-Man cartridge, which what's interesting about it is it's a dual game cart. It comes with that really shitty version of Pac-Man that they're showing there, but it also comes with a optimized port that shows what Pac-Man could have been if it actually was programmed competently. But what's interesting about the VCS port of Pac-Man that they're not going to get into here is that it was, again, the biggest problem was that Atari like really got greedy, and as he mentioned, they made more copies of the game than there were actually systems out there, which is not smart because you're going to oversaturate your stock. You have to create a sense of FOMO when it comes to especially a physical product. You have to have that demand, but really there are a lot of people that was their favorite version of Pac-Man. I've heard people talk about that version fondly, and whenever you hear like video game noises in like classic TV, 9 out of 10 times it was actually sampled from the Atari version of Pac-Man.
No kidding. I mean, that kind of makes sense though. All right, let's continue.
Chad. But the game stunk. The game really, really stunk. There was just nothing right in it.
Yeah, so if you
Despite the lackluster
ever watched
graphics,
classic
the public
TV and heard
loves
those
having
sounds,
Pac-Man in their
that's Pac-Man on
home.
Atari.
And Ms. Pac-Man follows closely behind.
This Miz plays only on the Atari 5200 Super System. Now you're talking.
Attempting to cash in, competitors released their own versions of Pac-Man.
There were all kinds of knockoffs. So what these companies have to do is these companies have to create something that's very Pac-Man-esque. And so you have all kinds of games that look like Pac-Man.
Meanwhile, Pac-Man's legitimate relatives continue to flood arcades.
There's Junior Pac-Man, Baby Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I do like Super Pac-Man.
But all the Pac-Man spin-offs in the world can't save the arcade
Pac-Mania
business.
is my favorite one, though.
By the mid-1980s,
the isometric one that has the jump button.
Okay.
The golden age of video arcades is over. Yet Pac-Man still has his loyal fans. Over the past 20 years, Pac-Man has been released on virtually every system.
That's the
I remember
NES
this
version.
one. Yeah. Ooh, Pac Attack. I think I actually had that one.
And there's Pac-Man 2, which is a kind of a point-and-click adventure game.
And the desire for high scores never wanes. In 1999, Pac-Man finally meets his match. Billy Mitchell becomes the first person to play the perfect game.
See, you have to be a little nutty to be this obsessive about something.
On July 3rd, 1999, Mitchell, the president of a Florida hot sauce company, walks into New Hampshire's Fun Spot Arcade and slides a quarter into the Pac-Man machine.
I had such a tight grip over the joystick at times, I was afraid I was going to shatter it. It was for sure the most difficult thing.
6 hours later, Mitchell manages to eat every dot, every ghost, and clear 256 screens. He actually beats the game.
6 hours isn't really any big deal.
There is a version of Pac-Man called Pac-Man 256.
Yeah.
Would not exist without Billy. The whole point of the game is that it's glitching out.
It doesn't know what to do.
The record-breaking feat makes Mitchell somewhat of a celebrity.
The kill screen happens when the game runs out of memory.
Yeah.
Came from, then I picked the right one.
If I'm traveling someplace and if I'm traveling with Billy Mitchell, it's interesting to see the reaction that the public gives him. He has this unique persona, and people notice that, even when they don't know that he's Billy Mitchell, the world-famous Pac-Man player.
Is he too old to be playing Pac-Man? Maybe. Am I too old to be doing what I do? Probably.
For the young or the young at heart, Pac-Man is still evolving and still a blast to play.
There are very few game characters from the early 80s who are still active in today's gaming scene.
The arcade graveyard.
Yeah.
Pac-Man would be the
Have you ever been to one?
Pac-Man is engraved in the
arcade
Games
graveyard?
Arcade.
No.
Pac-Man did leave an
I've been to a
indelible
couple.
mark on 20th century culture, and especially late 20th century culture.
And Pac-Man continues to enchant gamers worldwide with his latest adventure.
For Namco, Pac-Man is still very much alive.
It's a sign that everything has gone
What's
full
old is
circle,
new.
and now
Yeah.
the original games are being
Well, it's
recognized
kind of
and
funny
given their
that
due once
it
again.
would have dated this episode, but now we live in a time where his latest adventure is the remake of Pac-Man World 2.
Yeah, I know, right? It's so ironic. Perfect timing, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
But in a new way.
There'll always be the people who are going to think about Robotron 2084 or Defender or Donkey Kong.
The fuck is Robotron 2084?
God,
I have no idea what that is.
I thought you were being sarcastic. Robotron 2084 is a Midway game. It was the first twin stick shooter. Think Smash TV, but with like a lot of the very, very simple I guess I don't know what you'd call that graphical style, but it was just it looks like a Jeff Minter game. I don't think Jeff Minter was attached to it, but very colorful. And you're basically just a guy shooting robots.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
But the biggest group will be thinking about Pac-Man when they think about arcades in the early 80s.
All right.
Last time
that was the episode right there for G4's Icons, the Pac-Man edition. Let's get that off screen there. Oh, what a fun walk down memory lane.
So I've got something fun right here. This is something my wife gave me a few years ago. It looks a little weird because I've got my green screen on, but it's actually a very vibrant yellow. I think because it's reflecting my green screen. But this is the I believe this is from Numbskull. It's their quartercade. And what's cool about this is it is a 1/4 scale replica of the Pac-Man machine, like all the way around. Even the back is done up accurately. It's actually got that sloped in screen that runs in Tate mode. And if I can get it to turn on here, it does have a rechargeable battery in here. There you go. But it actually runs the actual Pac-Man ROM.
Yeah,
so,
that green screen is really messing with the image. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's got a like a lit marquee and everything, and runs the ROM. But I when I say I'm a big fan of Pac-Man, I really am. You know, as you know, you brought up earlier, my grandmother managed a bowling alley, so I got exposed to arcade games. I was born in '85, but arcade games were always a staple, especially in a bowling alley. And a lot of times you would get like a couple new games, and you would mostly get some of the, you know, the tried and true classics, and a couple of we'd always have 2 pinball machines, like one at the entrance at the bowling alley and then one towards the other side. They didn't have a dedicated arcade room because to really date myself, there were smoking rooms at the bowling alley. So the arcade games were like kind of out and about, like in the straightaway by the snack bar. And so, you know, they would have like a couple sections towards each end of the bowling alley. And I used to really enjoy Pac-Man to the point where I ended up asking for it for the NES. I got the Tengen version of Pac-Man one Christmas. And it was one of the few arcade games that just really stood out to me, that it was just this fun game that was easy to pick up and play. You know, you didn't really care that it was a really good high score game. It was a lot of fun just to see how high of a score you could get. I ended up liking Miss Pac-Man quite a bit too, because it would, you know, the screens would actually change. And I think there was one version that actually had scrolling in it. But Pac-Man was a game that was a big part of my childhood. And I remember when they got the new Pac-Man, they got Pac-Mania, which, you know, again, anything that like resembled CG graphics was big at the time. And I was just so enamored by 3D Pac-Man. And of course, the show was in syndication when I was a little kid as well, the Hanna-Barbera one. So I watched a lot of that too. So in a lot of ways, Pac-Man was like right there with Mario, as like one of the greats in the late 80s, early 90s for my childhood.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is a very interesting thing, because I'm a little young. I missed out on the whole arcade craze, so I'm right in between you know, that the glory days and stuff. Like I said, my sister was born in '81, so she would know this a lot more than I would, you know. Yeah, because I missed out on a lot of the stuff. But yeah, that was so fun. Now, obviously, Pac-Man still goes strong today. They just did a Metroidvania game.
Yep.
Shadow Labyrinth, which is an interesting take on Pac-Man.
I own it, but I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, same. And he's a guest character in a lot of things too. You know, made his way to Smash Brothers, also in Hot Shots Golf. I think in like a few of the racing games with Sonic, he's in there too.
Yeah, and he's in the new Sonic Cross Worlds, and then interestingly, in Pac-Man World 2 Repack, there's a Sonic level you can get if you buy the expansion for it.
Oh, interesting.
Which is very, very odd, because they put a little Sonic thing on Pac-Man, like the quills.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But yeah, that was a pretty fun episode, man. Definitely liked it a lot. So with that, I think that's a good way to kind of wrap that. Mr. Zero, do you have anything you'd like to plug, shout out, so on and so forth?
Yeah. So if you head over to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/extrazero, where I mostly talk about Transformers, I'll be hanging out with my good buddy Lance on Saturday. We're just going to be doing a Saturday hangout and kind of really just going into where we want to see. Basically with Transformers, there's a lot of figures that get reused and repurposed. I think we're going to be sitting there talking about like what they could repaint and repurpose for the Age of the Primes line, probably for the video game audience. Probably not your cup of tea, but if you just want to come and hang out for a chill stream, I'll be doing that on Saturday. And hopefully on Sunday, we'll be back to doing Gronking on Dogs. So I hope to be back there Sunday afternoon with Lethal, Mazza, and Cream NATO. And we'll be talking video games over there because a lot of stuff happened this week in gaming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, there was a lot of news. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. And the link to his channel is in the description of this video title. Click his name on there. It'll take you right to his channel. So please, if you can, go and give him a sub and stop by and say hi and check out the 0 Hour show and get all the fun Transformer facts, toy updates, and so on and so forth. That the show is known for.
A lot of me bitching about Hasbro lately, but
if you didn't bitch, that means you didn't love it, right?
Exactly.
As for myself, tomorrow we will be back with another episode of RNG Updates, recapping this week's news in gaming, showing off some trailers. I got a whole bunch of cool games that got announced recently that I will be showing off trailers for, so I cannot wait to do that. I tried to do it with a co-host just so people could share and have other opinions, but I don't think I will have one this week. It will probably be a solo episode tomorrow. But if I find someone or someone wants to come on, please just message me and we can work something out. But that will be tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central Time. I got all my recent goodie pickups ready here to show off and everything. So that's all I have to say about that for tomorrow. We will be back next week as well with a lot more episodes of Legacy Loading as well as other things. But that will be saved for next week when we talk about it. So until then, everyone, thank you for stopping by. And if you haven't already, please remember to leave a like and a comment on this video. Small sacrifices do help the algorithm gods notice this channel. And hopefully we pick up some more and as this year winds down. So everyone have a good night. Tomorrow's Friday. Have a great weekend and stay sexy. Peace out.
Unlike Miss Pac-Man.
No, be like Miss Pac-Man. Be extra sexy. And